Yes, let's try again. I did drop this camcorder on the floor because it's so small, camcorder. So I have to put it careful down on the floor. I cannot just put it like this. So, but let's finish. I'm tired today. I only sleep like 4 or 5 hours. So, just like to relax and read on Wikipedia. I have to check my cell phone again. I need to be careful because this camcorder can drop on. That's my last camcorder. I cannot destroy this camcorder because I don't have any more. No, my other pocket 2 is damaged. This is my old pocket number 1, the original one. My new pocket 2 I did destroy, same way to drop it on the floor.
In another recent case, an 18-year Emirati girl withdrew her complaint of gang rape by 6 men when the prosecution threatened her with a long jail term and flogging. 236. The woman still had to serve 1 year in jail. 237. In July 2013, a Norwegian woman, Mark Dalov, reported rape to the police and received a prison sentence for illicit sex and alcohol consumption. 232. Human rights. Flogging and stoning are legal punishments in the UAE. The requirement is derived from Sharia law, and has been federal law since 2005. 238. Some domestic workers in the UAE are victims of the country's interpretations of Sharia judicial punishments such as flogging and stoning. 181. The annual Freedom House report on freedom in the world has listed the United Arab Emirates as not free every year since 1999, the first year for which records are available on their website. 119. Protest against the Saudi Arabian-led intervention in Yemen, March 2018. The UAE has escaped the Arab Spring, however, more than 100 Emirati activists were jailed and tortured because they sought reforms. 81. 239. 240. Since 2011, the UAE government has increasingly carried out forced disappearances. 241, 242, 243, 244, 245, 246. Many foreign nationals and Emirati citizens have been arrested and abducted by the state. The UAE government denies these people are being held, to conceal their whereabouts, placing these people outside the protection of the law. 240, 242, 247. According to Human Rights Watch, the reports of forced disappearance and torture in the UAE are of grave concern. 243. The Arab Organization for Human Rights has obtained testimonies from many defendants for its report on forced disappearance and torture in the UAE, who reported that they had been kidnapped, tortured and abused in detention centers. 242, 247. The report included 16 different methods of torture, including severe beatings, threats with electrocute and denying access to medical care. 242, 247. In 2013, 94 Emirati activists were held in secret detention centers and put on trial for allegedly attempting to overthrow the government. 248 Human rights organizations have spoken out against the secrecy of the trial. An Emirati, whose father is among the defendants, was arrested for tweeting about the trial. In April 2013, he was sentenced to 10 months in jail. 249 The latest forced disappearance involves 3 sisters from Abu Dhabi. 250 Repressive measures were also used against non-Emiratis in order to justify the UAE government's claim that there is an international plot in which UAE citizens and foreigners were working together to destabilize the country. 247 Foreign nationals were also subjected to a campaign of deportations. 247 There are many documented cases of Egyptians and other foreign nationals who had spent years working in the UAE and were then given only a few days to leave the country. 247 Foreign nationals subjected to forced disappearance include 2 Libyans, 251, and 2 Qataris. 247 252 Amnesty International reported that the Qatari men have been abducted by the UAE government, and the UAE government has withheld information about the men's fate from their families. 247 252 Amongst the foreign nationals detained, imprisoned and expelled is Iyad el-Badadi, a popular blogger and Twitter personality. 247 He was arrested by UAE authorities, detained, imprisoned and then expelled from the country. 247 Despite his lifetime residence in the UAE, as a Palestinian citizen, el-Badadi had no recourse to contest ICE order. 247 He could not be deported back to the Palestinian territories, therefore he was deported to Malaysia. 247 In recent years, many Shia Muslim expatriates have been deported from the UAE. 253 254 255 Lebanese Shia families in particular have been deported for their alleged sympathy for Hezbollah. 256 257 258 259 260 261 According to some organizations, more than 4,000 Shia expatriates have been deported from the UAE in recent years. 262 263 The issue of sexual abuse among female domestic workers is another area of concern, particularly given that domestic servants are not covered by the UAE Labour Law of 1980 or the Draft Labour Law of 2007. 264 Worker protests have been suppressed and protesters imprisoned without due process. 265 In its 2013 annual report, Amnesty International drew attention to the United Arab Emirates' poor record on a number of human rights issues. They highlighted the government's restrictive approach to freedom of speech and assembly, their use of arbitrary arrest and torture, and UAE's use of the death penalty. 266 The state security apparatus in the UAE has been accused of a series of atrocities and human rights abuses, including enforced disappearance, arbitrary arrests and torture. 267 Freedom of association is also severely curtailed. All associations and NGOs have to register through the Ministry of Social Affairs and are therefore under de facto state control. About 20 non-political groups operate on the territory without registration. All associations have to be submitted to censorship guidelines and all publications have first to be approved by the government. 268 Migrant workers. Two South Asian blue-collar workers posing for a picture with Burj Khalifa on the background. Migrant workers in the UAE are not allowed to join trade unions or go on strike. Those who strike may risk prison and deportation. 269. 270, as seen in 2014 when dozens of workers were deported for striking. 271. The International Trade Union Confederation has called on the United Nations to investigate evidence that thousands of migrant workers in the UAE are treated as slave labor. 272. In 2019, an investigation performed by The Guardian revealed that thousands of migrant construction workers employed on infrastructure and building projects for the UAE's Expo 2020 exhibition were working in an unsafe environment. Some were even exposed to potentially fatal situations due to cardiovascular issues. Long hours in the sun made them vulnerable to heat strokes. 273. A report in January 2020 highlighted that the employers in the United Arab Emirates have been exploiting the Indian labor and hiring them on tourist visas, which is easier and cheaper than work permits. These migrant workers are left open to labor abuse, where they also fear reporting exploitation due to their illegal status. Besides, the issue remains unknown as visit visa data is not maintained in both the UAE and Indian migration and employment records. 274. In the 22nd of July 2020 news piece, Reuters reported human rights groups as saying conditions had deteriorated because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Many migrant workers racked up debt and depended on the help of charities. The report cited salary delays and layoffs as a major risk, in addition to overcrowded living conditions, lack of support and problems linked with healthcare and sick pay. Reuters reported at least 200,000 workers, mostly from India but also from Pakistan, Bangladesh, the Philippines and Nepal, had been repatriated, according to their diplomatic missions. 275. Dubai construction workers having lunch break. On the 2nd of May 2020, the Consul General of India in Dubai, Vipul, confirmed that more than 150,000 Indians in the United Arab Emirates registered to be repatriated through the e-registration option provided by Indian consulates in the UAE. According to the figures, 25% applicants lost their jobs and nearly 15% were stranded in the country due to lockdown. Besides, 50% of the total applicants were from the state of Kerala, India. 276. On the 9th of October 2020, the Telegraph reported that many migrant workers were left abandoned, as they lost their jobs amidst a tightening economy due to COVID-19. With no jobs and expired visas, many hived in parks under the city's glistening skyscrapers, appealing for repatriation flights home. White-collar job workers were also threatened by the pandemic in the Emirates, as many UK expats returned home since the beginning of coronavirus. 277. Various human rights organizations have raised serious concerns about the alleged abuse of migrant workers by major contractors organizing Expo 2020. UAE's business solution provider German Pavilion is also held accountable for abusing migrant workers. 278. Miscellaneous. Dancing in public is illegal in the UAE. 279. 280. 281. Media. Dubai Media City is home to diverse news and tech companies. The UAE's media is annually classified as not free in the Freedom of the Press report by Freedom House. 282. The UAE ranks poorly in the annual Press Freedom Index by Reporters Without Borders. Dubai Media City and 2 for 54 are Thua's main media zones. The UAE is home to some pan-Arab broadcasters, including the Middle East Broadcasting Center and Orbit's Showtime network. In 2007, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum decreed that journalists can no longer be prosecuted or imprisoned for reasons relating to their work. 283. At the same time, the UAE has made it illegal to disseminate online material that can threaten public order. 284, and hands down prison terms for those who deride or damage the reputation of the state and display contempt for religion. Journalists who are arrested for violating this law were often brutally beaten by the police. 285, print media. According to